AskReddit by Electrical and 6630. Why don't you talk to that family member anymore? Accused me of stealing all our dad's money when he died. There was a will and we all got the same amount. I pointed this out and she blocked me. I spent all mine at Vegas over a single weekend. How come you get to buy a house and a car with yours? That's not fair. When at my sister's funeral they told me I had no reason to cry because I wasn't really family because I was adopted. I was adopted within my own family. We were still biologically related. The fuck, even if you weren't bio-related, why would you be criticized for crying? I have a different dad from my sister. When he died, my sister had to leave work. She was so upset. She sobbed and sobbed. My dad was like an uncle to her, but in no way were they related. When the ex-husband got released from jail for spousal abuse and restraining order violations, she gave him my new home address. Edit. This has gotten far more response than expected. If it hits home to you, there's a great sub at our estranged adult kids. What the fuck? Her husband pointed a loaded gun at my husband's head. My husband didn't need parents anyway. What happened to get to that point? They expect me to respect their boundaries but don't respect mine. Boundaries are the most important thing to stay healthy mentally with people close to you. Stay strong. I made the mistake to ignore them and it almost ruined my life. Abusive alcoholic forged documents using my mom's identification. My wife's mum. Among other things, she attempted to burn down my house whilst her daughter and grandson were inside. She's a piece of shit who's going to die bitter and alone, and that's just fine by all of her kids. I too have come for the story. My sister. She's been a sporadically recovering drug addict for like 15 years. The last straw was when she stole our checkbook out of my wife's purse at our father's wake. Because that family member stole my money and blamed it on me, lol. How dare you steal your own money? Because he was hitting on the nurse in the room where my mother was being compassionately extubated. Oh yeah, he's my dad. I am so sorry. This sounds like my dad. He cheated on my mother while she was dying of cancer. Would be sexually suggestive to even underage girls and thought it was both normal and hilarious. He did this before, during, and after my mom's death. He is a pervert and a horrible person for so many reasons that only begin here. I tried to forgive him, but I really shouldn't have. I thought there must be a limit to his depravity, but there isn't. When my daughter was 2 years old, I caught him lifting her up in the air and looking under her dress. It was then that I remembered all of the times he would accidentally walk in on me in the bath when I was growing up. Part of me wonders if there is anything else I repressed, and part of me never, ever wants to know. You and your mother both deserved better than the kind of person who would do that. Stole our grandpa's identity, his dad, and ruined him financially. Then when his brother died, tried stealing money from his sister, my mom, and conning his way into things that didn't belong to him. When my mom passed, he asked for her SSN. Told me it was for an old insurance policy their brother, referenced above, worth like $400. I told him I wanted more info, looked into it, and it was $76k that he was trying to claim entirely for himself instead of me and my sibling getting my mom's share. Fuck that guy. They chose a rapist over me, and now that all his crimes have come to light, they are so sorry. No thanks. Was it a no? Not our smart boy, good father, cool aunt. How dare you think? He's a pedophile and a crackhead. Tried to have a semi-normal relationship with him where I would visit him infrequently and message him like once a month. Then one day while visiting him I found pedophilic fanfiction on his computer. He spent my whole life trying to convince me the charges were bogus, lol. He's my dad BTW. Holy shit, I'm sorry, well done for at least making the effort. Uncle punched me in the neck for no reason while drunk. Cut his ass off that same night. On Christmas at that. Has he ever struck anyone else in the family? He tried to molest me when I was 12. She took money from my brother's special needs trust to buy a beach condo she couldn't afford. Hi mom. I had to call CPS on his neglectful parenting. He cut me off. I have a similar family member. He tried contacting me a few years back but I ignored him. I don't want him in my life. I've seen him twice when other family members died. As much as I would have loved to verbally rip him apart, I didn't want to disrespect the deceased. Maybe someday I'll get that chance. My brother turned me in for social security fraud. Needless to say, I'm not committing any fraud. Had I been convicted, I would have a $250,000 fine, and would have gone to jail for 5 years. He can suck my dick. He is dead to me. What? Did he actually have inclinations of you actually being fraudulent? Is he like a drug user and thought you were acting fraudulent in a psychosis episode? What's the story here? I supported my 46-year-old son all his adult life. Through raising 2 of his children. I was spending too much money and I was going broke myself. When he wanted to move in with his girlfriend, I said no more and that he had to stand up for themselves. Of course I was a freaking bitch and haven't seen or heard from him for over a year. He hasn't even checked on his kids. Not birthdays or Christmas. I'm dealing with this right now myself. My grandparents raised me. My mom, 53, is as chaotic and mentally ill as ever. My granddad was a successful executive at a big company and I'm building a similarly successful career for myself. It's just her. We just are all really tired of dealing with mom and her garbage. My situation sounds like yours, except that I'm the grandkid in your situation. If it gives you any consolation, I know your grandkids are eternally grateful for you saving them from a horrible situation with their dad. It's hard, but I have no doubt in my mind how much they love you and appreciate all you've done for them. In my experience, it's never worth accepting any of his anger. Ignore him and cut him out if need be. He doesn't have any more excuses. It's his mistakes and his alone. It was after a Christmas party. My mother manages a small hotel with rooms and 2 chalets. So she booked rooms for the family to sleep over after the party. One of my cousins took a chalet with her BF. It was only for one night. Regular customers were coming the next day. All the family leave early the next day and so did my cousin. Customers who booked the chalet arrived early, so my mother showed them the chalet, assuming that the chalet will be clean enough and that the customers could leave their luggage there till the bed was made. There was pee on the wall. My cousin and their BF literally pee on the wall. My mother was shocked and made excuses to the customers. She called the dad of my cousin and we never saw her again. We know that her BF is now dead. He died of OD. She scammed Extreme Home Makeover into building her a house and that turned out to have Munchausen syndrome. My aunt bought Christmas present for my son, not my stepson. I asked politely if we could buy a present for him and say it was from her. She refused. I returned the present and opened. After that, I've barely spoken to her for 20+ years. I am the stepson and have been since I was 5ish. I have 2 siblings, and we were strictly raised to be full siblings. To be honest, we don't think about it much. My stepdad's family thinks about it a lot every time they gave me a gift or a card. It was like they wanted a little award and speech for including me. It embarrasses my stepdad so much and sends my mom into a rage, and I love them both, but I just want to crawl into a hole and not participate in this shit. Fortunately, as an adult now, it happens a lot less. My husband died and I asked my entire family if they could help me out by watching my youngest while I worked a night shift. Every single one of them said no. have a sister like this. She never helps me out with anything I ask, ignores my messages and calls, and only comes to my house so I can babysit my nieces, her 2 daughters, while she gets drunk with her husband, my brother-in-law. The only people I can rely on are my brother, who's barely 18, and my father. That's it. Families suck lol. My aunt's husband abused me. I told her. She stayed with him. My grandma, because every time I see her it's super dark and gruesome. Always talking about how she's gonna die and how the politics suck, and how I'm a terrible sister and how I'll never have a husband if I don't gain some weight. How my mom is bossy, how my brother is this and that. I can't stand it. I'm recovering from extreme depression. I can't have negativity on my mind every day when I talk to you. Too deep. You can join my therapist and I on a video call on Tuesday at 3 PM. Okay, sent deets. That cunt thought it was funny and laughed her ass off when my dad had a seizure. Shit stirrer with no ability to self-reflect. More like most family members, in my case. I'm a white guy from Indiana who fell in love and married a Hispanic woman from Arizona. Went back to Indiana for my grandmother's funeral when my stepbrother wanted to tell racist jokes to my wife to break the ice and lighten the mood at the wake. Yeah, I don't talk to him anymore.